back from Texas, getting a first-hand look at what's happening on the border with the immigration crisis. About 1,000 illegal immigrant children who are in custody after trying to cross the border could be coming to Massachusetts, and Bristol County Sheriff Tom Hodgson went to find out what the state might be dealing with. We're pleased to have the sheriff with us this morning, and always do appreciate your time, Sheriff. First of all, why do you feel the need to go to Texas? Why did you make that trip?
Well, unfortunately, we are now becoming a border state like so many others across the country, even though we're not directly on the border. We have a lot of people who are being shipped to us. We've already had about 500 adult detainees shipped to facilities in Massachusetts, and now the governor's talking about bringing in about 1,000 unaccompanied children, which is really too unfortunate.
Let's talk about what you learned. What did you see down there? What opened your eyes? And what concerns you now, having seen this, about some of these kids coming to Massachusetts?
Well, overall, what I saw was the confirmation of what we believed all along, that they're coming over, these kids, in droves. We know that, for example, in 2013, there were 112,000 kids that came over. Today, in 2014, to date, there's 215,000, and they're coming in every day. We went to the processing center, and there were kids laying on the floor inside cells, some standing at the door, mothers laying on the floor with these babies tucked up against them. And what's happening is we learned that these coyotes are bringing these kids across, and along the way they're being raped, they're being mutilated, in some cases they're being killed, and they're dying. So this idea that it's a humanitarian crisis is just not so. It's a crisis in leadership in our country, and that's what's going on here. The Border Patrol reported yesterday that the Border Patrol are now being shot at with 50 caliber weapons, which is very dangerous. We went along on the patrol boats, which are heavily armed, up the Rio Grande, and we could see the rafts lining the banks. So many
they're
people
pretty brazen about coming over. They're not trying to hide what they're doing here or sneak in. They're just going across.
Oh yeah, well the unaccompanied kids are just, as soon as they get to across, either on jet ski or raft or whatever, they just walk right up to the Border Patrol people and say, "I'm here," and they believe, because of what Obama passed in 2012 under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, that they got the message that, hey, if you come here, you can stay. And that's what's caused this huge influx.
So this political asylum that people are using, you're not buying that?
No, not at all. And the Border Patrol people told us that. They said if there's 10% of all the kids coming over that are running from gangs or whatever, that would be about it. It may be even less. It's driven by what the president had done in the way of his policies that's brought everybody here. And everybody knows there wasn't a sudden surge since 2012 in violence. In fact, the violence has gone down. Homicides have gone down in all three countries: El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras.
What is this, having seen all this now, what concerns you about these kids coming here to Massachusetts? The length of potential stays, you know, are they being checked for disease? You know, the pressure they'll put on other services here in the Commonwealth? Look,
65% already that have come unaccompanied have been given amnesty. This idea that the governor's saying, well, they're only going to be here for 120 days and we're going to put a school at the facility and so forth. If they're only going to be here 120 days, what curriculum is the governor talking about? How does it fit into any school system? And what happens is when they're allowed to stay, which most of them probably will be, they get into these neighborhoods, wherever they're going to be, whether foster care or with some relative, legal or illegal, and they walk out into a neighborhood street, they become vulnerable. They become the targets of predators because the predators can pick right up on it. And we've seen it in New Bedford. We have Mayans walking home from the fish houses on payday who are getting jumped and having their money taken from them because most of them are probably illegal. And so what we're going to see is we're going to see a rise in crime, some reported, some not, probably most not.
With these kids coming here, you know, what is it the governor not getting here? Because you've got protesters now, and you've seen it all around the country, but people starting to protest down the Cape and in Chicopee, the two places that he's talked about. What do you think he's missing here in terms of not listening to the folks there who have these concerns and some of the concerns you just laid out as well?
Well, what he's missing is he doesn't have enough facts. He's just simply reacting more in a broad bureaucratic way around a political agenda as opposed to understanding the issues, going to the border, or talking to people on the border who know what's going on. And the idea that you're going to bring them here for 120 days, the taxpayers are going to pay to ship them here by charter flight, and they're only going to be 120 days for processing and then send them back. Look, the governor can't believe that, not for 1 second. And it's not even good sound management. Look, we couldn't manage the Department of Child and Family. We still have issues with that. Now we're going to sort of import a whole new child and family initiative here in Massachusetts at some air base I mean,
so why do you think he's doing it then? Why do you think he's saying, come here? I know he's got the relationship with the president, obviously, but
look, I don't question the governor's compassion in his heart, but I think he's leading with just that. And I think all of us have that same compassion. It's just that when you're in a position like the governor is, you have to take the time to understand the issue and how it broadly affects the communities. The schools are overwhelmed right now. I mean, we've heard it in New Bedford, you're hearing it in Lynn. The monies aren't there. People are getting angry because they can't get services for their own children. They're cutting out sports programs and arts programs after school because there's no money. And now you're going to bring in kids and put them in classrooms where it's going to take the teacher's time, extra time, to focus on kids who don't speak the language and aren't part of our culture.
What is the solution? Is there a simple solution to
Sure.
it?
Yeah, there is. The first thing, in my opinion, what they ought to be looking at is send administrative judges to the border. Don't be sending kids all over the country to have administrative hearings. That's number one. Number two, you have to secure the border. That's the first thing that has to happen. Law enforcement, the sheriffs on the border, all sheriffs across the country, and law enforcement, Border Patrol have been saying this for a long time. Until you secure these borders, there will be no legitimate, comprehensive immigration reform. And the thing about the hearings, look, we know that there's 350,000 hearings for unaccompanied children that are backlogged, and they're pushing them forward into a docket of 2017. So if you're telling us every kid gets a hearing, and they're only going to be here 120 days, what are you going to do? You're going to send them back and supposedly deport them and then bring them back for, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. The facts don't support what's going on here, and there's a very different agenda.
Short on time, do you think there's any chance these kids don't come to Massachusetts?
I suppose there's a chance, but I would say it seems pretty certain they're going to come. We'll see if the governor responds to the outbursts of the people who are saying it's not good for our kids, it's not good for our families, it's not good for our communities.
Bristol County Sheriff Tom Hodgson, thanks so much.
Thanks for
having me.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get down.